Mixing with Mike, plugin of the week comes from the Plugin Alliance. It's a new company added to the Plugin Alliance. It's NEOLD. I think that's the way it's pronounced. It is the V76U73 plugin. So this amounts to a channel strip of vintage heaven coming from the 50s and the 1960s. This is wartime technology modified or brought into recording studios. Some of this comes from the broadcast realm. Some of it was adapted specifically for mastering or in-studio work. Essentially what you have is the V76 preamp, one of the most famous Telefunken preamps. This goes back, it's really that and the V72. There were many, many, many variations of this, and I think that's where the 80 comes from. There was probably a V80. But essentially, it is a pentode tube circuit with transformers, and you have a gain stage here. The 72 had a gain stage, I believe, up to like 34 dB of gain. And then the V76 basically takes two of those in series, and that brings you up to 76 dB of gain. There's some modifications to the original, although this just sounds ridiculous just on its own, and you'll see when we get into the audio examples with this. But true to the original design, you have a gain staging here. What they've done here, which is different from the original, is the original went in 6 dB steps, except for the very early stages, which went from like 3 to 9 to 18, and then it kind of went 6 dB steps after that. Because the lineup of this circuit leads from gain right into the compressor with a fixed threshold, basically this gain, the way that it's set up is that it's feeding into the threshold of the compressor unit, which is the U73B, which we'll get into in a minute. And so what we have is the preamp stage, and this has been emulated by other companies. This one happens to be really amazing. It actually includes the original limitations of the frequency response, which sort of has a roll-off high pass at like 40 hertz, low pass at like 15K, which, going back to that era, to the 1950s, was considered very full frequency. And it sounds just really just rich and warm and beautiful. As an optional way of kind of getting around that, if you find that to be a problem, there's a linear switch here, which will take that filtering curve away and allow you to maintain your full frequency response for what you're working on. You have the gain stages, but as you flip through the gain stages, there's no additional gain, so you're only getting the tonal coloration going in, and then that also lifts the amount of gain feeding into the fixed threshold. So as you run into the compression stage, this will help you to drive or get the amount of compression that you'll see in the gain reduction meter over here, right on the U70 module. There are some filters that you have available to you. There's a 3 kilohertz filter. And then on the high pass side, you have an 80 hertz, 300 hertz, and then you have the combination of the two, which basically just sharpens the curve of the filter. And that's the basic circuit there. So you just kind of roll with that, and if you want to keep it flat sounding or flatter sounding without the natural high pass, low pass, or band pass circuitry, then there you have it right there. So that feeds into the compression unit. The U73 was actually a broadcast limiter originally, and then it was adapted for studio, hence the B for studio, go figure. And what you have here is there's a filter section which sets a filter for which 100 hertz for the sidechain circuit, so that you can keep the low end from sort of driving things. So that's an add-on. You can operate it in stereo, which links the side chains for the left and right. Otherwise, they'll operate independently of each other. So you can engage that. There are two basic circuits here. You have a compression circuit, bypass if you just want to use the preamp, and a limit circuit. So the compression circuit, this is kind of, in the original design of the U73, these were two separate thresholds. In this version of it, they keep the thresholds the same, which is probably better. What you get generally with these types of things, where you have a lower threshold and a higher threshold, is the lower threshold is a soft knee, the limiter or the higher threshold, if you set it to there, is a harder knee. And that's more or less what they've gone for here in the way that they've designed it, except that the threshold basically stays the same. So that's different, and that's just a modification that actually makes it more adaptable and usable in a DAW. That's the purpose of the reasoning behind it. So think of it this way. You basically have a higher ratio. There's no indication of exactly what that is. It's probably program dependent to some degree. So the limiter is at a higher ratio than the compressor, but basically it's hard knee, soft knee. So you get two different sound characteristics from it. You have 6 release curves available to you. So very similar to like a Fairchild. You have 3 single release time circuits, meaning that it's only a single stage release. And then you have 3 dual stage releases, 2.5, 6 seconds, and 10 seconds. And so each one of these will have a different characteristic sound. Now, on the Fairchild, those different settings will give you multiple stages, but the initial release curve is faster, say, with the number 6 time constant versus the 5 versus the 4. Here, a little bit closer to the same, but you do get a bit more of a quicker release, obviously, with the shorter time here. So you're just going to go through those. The multi-stage release is more of like a broadcast type of carryover. The cool part about that is it sort of kind of protects against heavy pumping and breathing that you might have if you're just kind of going with a single release stage. And sometimes you want that, and if you want that, you go here. The release or the attack has 2 settings on it. There's a fast attack, which is 0.5 milliseconds. So if you're really looking to kind of warm up or kind of cut down a bit on the transient, that's going to do your job right there. The audio is auto attack is program dependent release, which goes from 1 millisecond to 10 milliseconds. So it will sort of adapt based on the input signal coming into it. So you have that there, and then you have a meter module. So these are all these Danner cassette modules that were designed specifically this way. So they would all be kind of in a line. One would feed into the other. And this would basically be a powered meter module so you could monitor gain reduction and level and all of that. And that's exactly what you have here with the switches. This will turn the power on and off for the whole thing. You have a makeup gain here for the compression stage. You have a mix control. So the interesting thing about the mix control, which is normally just like the input signal, unaffected, blended with the compressed or processed signal. In this case, it actually grabs the quote-unquote dry signal post V76 preamp. So you have that, which splits off, and then you have the compressed signal that runs parallel to that, and then you can blend the two of those there. So it allows you to run it that way. And then there's an output trim if you're using that just to control the overall gain structure if you find that you're kind of driving things a little bit too heavy. Most of the time, you won't really need that, or I haven't found that I've needed it that much. But it's there for your convenience. So I just have it here on the mix bus, and then we'll go through a couple different things, but just to give you a flavor for what it sounds like. Other than that, a couple other settings here. You have the GUI size, which you could set here. I have it set to big right there. Quality, right? So you could set to higher or lower quality, and you could also put it in German, in the original language that it was on, so made in. And so you could have it set up for you there if you prefer that. All right, so let's dive in. This is just on a mix. I'm actually going to take out the vocal here a little bit, and let's just kind of listen to the rhythm section. Part of this, go through a few settings and just kind of dig on the... in fact, what I'll do is I'll bypass the compression just so we can hear the V76 preamp. So you could hear just running through there, you can get a different tonal coloration here using the different preamp settings, which is really cool. I just had the makeup gain in there, so I just wanted to make sure that you could hear it without that. But I also wanted to go and put the linear switch in just so you could kind of hear what that is, and then I'll just quick demonstrate the filters, and then we'll move on to the compression section. like this filter is just made for reggae or something. Just like to hear like the depth that it brings in. Just that roll off. Even if it's the roll off on the low end at 40 hertz, just the way that it focuses everything is really powerful and amazing. I'm just gonna just so you could hear what the filters sound like. This would be for most purposes just an effect, but just so you can hear it real quick. So even there, just like a simple filtering, if you just kind of wanted to get like an even deeper kind of vintage vibe for certain sounds, again, like a very useful thing. And that is not an add-on. That is actually part of the original circuit. Okay, let's go into the compression real quick and take a look at that. Here we have the filter in. So remember that puts 100 hertz high pass filter into the sidechain circuitry, so that's not into the audio signal, and then we can make it linked stereo or dual mono, essentially what we have there. But let's run the compression circuit. Let's stay with the auto attack here, and we will adjust the preamp to sort of drive the amount of compression. We'll see gain reduction up here in the meter. So now if I switch to the limiter, I'll probably have to drive more gain in, as it looks like that will have to right here. So let's just see what that is. You can hear how much more aggressive that is, whereas the compressor is a soft knee. This is probably a much better way to go for doing like a parallel compression. So we'll kind of save it for that. I also just wanted to show you quickly the fast attack setting here. It's hard to do a comparison between the two because it's almost like it has to be two completely different settings here. So if we have this for this here, let me just copy this, copy this, paste it into here. Then I could put the auto setting, and I think I have to crank this up like that. You could hear how much warmer the fast attack is and how that kind of drives things a little bit. So there, so you get a basic idea of what's going on there. So let's go through a couple of other use things here. One would be just like working through the bass. So I'll just kind of deactivate that for a second. Working through a bass, which this is just perfectly suited for, especially with those filters on it, just from a warmth perspective. Oops, I have compression kick. Let me just bypass that for a second. Right, so I could get a good, gain stage kind of thing there. But let's just go through, for example, here. This is something I'd probably use one of the broadcast release settings here. Let's back this off for a second. Go to a compressor setting. See what happens if we go to like a fast attack setting here for a second. It kind of makes it a little bit edgy. This kind of softens that attack a little bit, which it has a little bit of pick attack or something in there that brings out, which is not as good. Let's switch over to the compressor to see if that's a little bit softer. This has like a great richness to the sound. And I can also do something here, with kind of parallel path here. I had something kind of set up here. Let's just see. It has a whole bunch of extra stuff, but just to kind of show like what a parallel chain here might look like with a limiter, fast attack setting, and the long release, so we get some pretty heavy compression. Gain cranked all the way up here, and then let's just kind of mix this in just for the drums, just to give you a flavor for that. Just great like warmth and focus to have that there, right? All right, so let's put something here. I have something here for all the guitars in this, just to kind of give like another kind of vibe there, because obviously this is, now adding a bit of punch and gain. So let's just see if we can put something together here for the guitar parts. And maybe go to like a softer setting here for the keys. put this in with the vocal, right? Because that would be the next place you would want to hear something like this would be with a vocal here. So I'll take out the LA2A that I have right here, and
I'm feeling good, I'm feeling fine. Nah go make nobody blow my eye. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling fine. Now make no negative energy kill my vibes. Me have to keep me energy high, for real. Me no biggie, me no ready fi die. But if I sound just say, then me ready fi fly. Like a bird in the morning, me take to the sky and spread me wings like a eagle. I soar high over people. Play this in your vehicle. Your headphones are your Bluetooth speaker. This a the stress reliever.
That would be one approach. The other approach would be to go to the compression circuit.
I'm feeling good, I'm feeling fine. Nah go make nobody blow my eye. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling fine. Now make no negative energy kill my vibes. Me have to keep me energy high, for real. Me no biggie, me no ready fi die. But if I sound just say, then me ready fi fly. Like a bird in the morning, me take to the sky and spread me wings like a eagle. I soar high over people. Play this in your vehicle. Your headphones are your Bluetooth speaker. This a the stress reliever. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling fine. Now go make nobody blow my. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling fine. Now make no negative energy kill my vibe. Feeling fine, meditating at the evening time. In the rising, give thanks to see yet another day. It feels so nice, me have to make the world know how me feel inside. Give thanks and praise that my friends and my family's alright. And
so listen to just all of these in and out here just for a second. Go back to the verse. Here we go.
Me get up and me fresh up and say yes, Lord. Me dress up with the best up on me left yard. A straight positivity me manifest and me know upon my blessings. John and go press pass. Go down a head tracks, that's the best part. Cliff, line up a rhythm, me have a tune for bless hearts. Tell them how me feeling and what we dealing with. Revelation, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling fine. Now go make nobody blow my eye. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling fine. Now make no negative energy kill my vibe. Me have to keep me energy high, for real. Me no biggie, me no.
So this the warmth, the richness, the focus that the imaging depth that it just kind of brings in is really spectacular. This is just an amazing addition to me to the Plug-in Alliance collection, which already is just got a multitude of great plugins built into it. But this is just, you know, all the richness and every warmth and everything that you would ever want out of a vintage component like this. Great emulation. Just really love the responsiveness of this, and just the harmonic richness is just really beautiful. This is just right up my alley. Really love it, and also perfect for this song here. So could not recommend this enough. Really amazing, and that's why it's a plugin of the week from Plug-in Alliance. New company added in to Plug-in Alliance called NEOLD. Its actual founder comes from Alicia, and it's the V76U73. I don't know if you call it a channel strip or they call it a channel strip, but it sounds ridiculous. So however you want to take it and use it, it's definitely worth it.